My work is all autobiographical, so it's rooted in personal history. They're large mixed media constructions, and I call them constructions because they're not paintings, they're not sculptures, they're not assemblage. It's sort of this cross hybrid of all of it. I feel is that the work becomes an entity. I can tell when it starts to breathe on its own. It's not just a set of objects or something we're looking at. I'm interacting with it, and that's when I feel like that it's got life. What drives my work are internal, primal emotions. Usually it's a set of binary emotions in each work. I believe and I hope that by exploring just these universal emotions that everyone feels, that it makes it very accessible to the viewer. Because everyone deals with tragedy, love, loneliness, loss, joy, despair. We all deal with those emotions. And that to me is how it relates to someone else. In essence, all of my work is about life, death, and hope, and the hope needed to get from point A to point B through life. So there's not a narrative of what physically may have happened or any reference to any physical object. The work is all non-representational. But a viewer is going to react with an emotion. But you have to be drawn in and be willing to be with the piece long enough to see how it makes you feel. The work is intricate, but it's also large, so there's kind of this gestalt of looking at the piece all at one time, which is what I'd like, because that's how we process things. We're not linear in our emotions. We can feel 1,000 different emotions at once. But because the work is also intricate and detailed, it invites more microscopic dissection of it, which to me is a lot of how we look at life and how we live, is that we have just these competing emotions and situations that come at us, and we have to deal with them all at the same time. It's all at once. The titles of my work are very important to me because that's what guides me, and that was my history in it. It has to be in this little genre of feeling. But there is, I think, a narrative when you see all the titles. My work is largely organic. Many of the materials that I use, the found objects, are organic as well. And they've gone through their own history. Rather than repurpose them, I like to feel like I'm honoring the past that they had. Everything is archaic. Remnants of Lovers relates to the issues around leaving and staying and going and coming. There were empty frames. I don't call it empty space, I actually call it pregnant space, but it looks like empty space and how it's contained. And it reminded me of the screen door, and which side you're on depends on how you look at the situation. You're either waiting for somebody to come who may never come, you're looking at the door that someone's just left and you didn't want them to go, or you wanted them to go, or you're from the perspective of coming in, and either joy or hesitancy around those emotions. So Remnants of Lovers in particular is about leaving and being left. How we look at what's left over, and from what viewpoint do we spin history, and all of that relates to the hope you have in moving forward. I think artists use materials that they like using. I'm very tactile. I like digging into things, quite literally digging into the work. It's not enough to me to have just a two-dimensional surface anymore. I'm from a family of surgeons and scientists and doctors, and that influences my work whether I want it to or not. There's a lot of use of wires and webbing in my work, and it's not webbing like spider webs, they're surgical knots. I grew up helping my dad in his office as a plastic surgeon. The physical line work is my handwriting. Those are my gestures. And they're connections from one thing to another, or connections through space, through time and space. There's an intricacy to it. It's almost like making lace, and that you can't see the whole until it's done. But each little tiny knot, each little tiny aspect of it is critically important, or else the whole thing falls apart. I use bones in my work. I don't try to make them not look like bones. They don't mean death to me. They actually indicate structure and life. It's the only part of humans that end up surviving over thousands of years. So there's a reference back to humanity with that. I have a generalized idea when I begin a piece, but because of the intricacy of the pieces, because of their size, because sometimes things just work the way they work, it's not planned out at all. And if I did plan it out, then why do it, for one thing? I mean, that sort of ruins it. And it also would ruin the journey of going through it. By the time I finish, there are 4 dozen layers on it. If I dissected a piece, you could see the archaeology and the artist's history. And I'm a little sad when it's over because I create a relationship with this piece. I'm always amazed at the indomitable human spirit, this endless ability to rise from the ashes and for renewal. And that's what goes into every piece, is that this hope that we will continue to do that.
My wish of a lifetime, which actually has been for the last 2 years when I heard about a possibility that I could have a wish. And here I am, and it's way, way beyond my expectations. I've seen more marvels in the last 2 hours than I ever dreamed possible.
Wish of a Lifetime is a charity that grants lifelong wishes to people at the later stages of their life. Our mission at Wish of a Lifetime is to shift the way society views and values our oldest generation by fulfilling seniors' dreams and sharing their stories to inspire those of all ages. Growing older is not always easy. And it's hard to believe that it's estimated by the year 2050, the senior population will have doubled. Seniors are the fastest growing population in the world. We've learned that more than 11 million seniors live alone, and 1/3 of them expect their quality of life to get worse. But what if I told you that you had the power to make someone smile? To help give someone's life meaning again, to even improve their health. Through our post-wish survey, we've seen how profound granting a wish can be. It is our vision to live in a world where society embraces aging and the inherent wisdom that accompanies it. A world where seniors are celebrated for their accomplishments and sacrifices, and a world where intergenerational connections are part of our daily lives. This is a movement, a calling to everyone, that our oldest generation that is filled with heroes everywhere is important. And their dreams, no matter how big or small, do matter.
reduce the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. And that allows us to see better when we don't have so much moving and so much information around us. The lines, or I call them gestural marks, are actually just kind of represent the rhetoric that we're exposed to in society constantly on the news, radio. We're inundated with all kinds of information. And so those are just kind of a subtle thing that's in the background that I build layers over, and I kind of push it back, because what I want the viewer to do is to be able to leave all that behind and find a place to just be. In the Western philosophy, we put everything we know into everything, and we like lots of stuff, and the Eastern philosophy is more simple and quiet and more open spaces. The circles are the universal symbol of oneness, and they represent a quiet journey that we're on. And a lot of times I'll put some squares in the pieces, and those represent man, and so it creates like a tension between the two. Because I do design somewhat the composition ahead of time, make little drawings and see how things move on the canvas, and if I like it. I'm constantly in and out, putting in, taking out, in and out, because I have to make it work. And sometimes you think this will work and it doesn't, so you take it out. But then there's that wonderful little hint, that you can still see of my process in it. And I think that's exciting to see what the artist is thinking. And so I allow some of that to still come through the work. Very pushed back in the layers. Color's seductive, it will seduce you. And I didn't want the paintings to be about that seduction of color. I wanted them to be more about an emotion of feeling inside that would connect you to that inner part of yourself. And so I limited the palette. And I use a technique that was done by the old masters, kind of a glazing technique where I lay down layer after layer after layer. Sometimes as many as 40 layers can be on one piece. And this piece only has about 10 layers on it, so it has like another 10 at least, 10 to 25. So I'm going to move it down, and I'm going to go to the darker layers, and that I have to mix. And I eliminate a lot of things in the work. I start out, it may be more busy when I start, but it's a real process of elimination. Kind of like we are as individuals in the world. We get information, we put it in, and we let some of it go, and some of it we keep. So it's kind of has a connection to that process that we go through as humans. And I'm trying really hard to not make any kind of a political or social statement in the work. It's not about what we already know is going on in the world. So I wanted that inner peace, that inner glow. I wanted it all to come out into the work to connect people to the soul.
When I was volunteering and realized how good it was for me and what a tremendous impact it had on my mental wellness, I had that light bulb moment of realizing that this was a way that we could help other people improve their mental wellness in a very innovative fashion.
We know more than 1 million of us experience a mental health or substance use disorder each year in this state, but we also know that most folks aren't getting the care they need. So we need new ideas.
Mental health is an area where the need for innovation is constant and acute and really pressing at this point in time.
We formed the Innovators Society to support promising but not yet proven approaches to mental wellness. By creating an accelerator program, we could advance solutions more rapidly than just by providing a grant by itself. We provided each innovator with a team of coaches in areas of strategy, marketing, and executive skills.
For coaches to be coming from such a wide variety of backgrounds took the whole thing to a completely new level.
The innovators also honed their presentations throughout the accelerated program through a series of pitch scrimmages, where they received real-time feedback from business and community leaders.
All of this work of our innovators led up to a final community pitch showdown where we empowered the community with financial resources to vote on the innovations.
Applying to participate in something like this can help your organization think about, what do we want to be doing? What gaps do we need to be filling?
As part of the process of going through the Innovators Society, we really became more clear on how to tell our story to impact volunteers, potential funders, and other members of the community.
I want people to know that the Innovators Society is just that. It's very innovative, and it's going to challenge you in new ways. It's going to push you to new limits, and it's going to say, you know what, there is great potential in our communities, and are you willing to take that journey?
This is such a new model. It's so incredible to see so many people who attended the Community Pitch Showdown and supported the nonprofit innovators really coming around this idea of new solutions to mental wellness in our community.
When we put the power of philanthropy in the hands of our community and take big risks on innovations around mental wellness, great things are going to happen. We want you to be part of the Innovators Society. Join us, empowering community together.